Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube video channel. Today's video going to be about the Celtic FC Women's side, the Celtic Girls. And so if you don't follow the Celtic Women's side, the Celtic Girls, this video may not be for you. There will be videos later in the week about the main Celtic team, a preview of the Dundee United game on Sunday, but a roundup of all the bits and bobs of news this week, and also planning one or two videos in the Great Celtic Players of Yesteryear series as well. And so plenty of videos later in the week to be uploaded. So today's video is going to be a quick roundup of and review of Celtic FC Women's final Champions League game, their sixth and final game. It was away from home at FC Twente in Holland, and they unfortunately got beaten 3-0. And so in the Champions League group stage, 6 defeats, 1 goal, 17 goals against, no points. So one of the questions that we will discuss in today's video is, was the Champions League group stage experiment, was it worth it? Or has it been counterproductive in Celtic's season so far, where they lie 5th in the SWPL, although they are in the semi-finals of the League Cup that will be later in 2025, and they've advanced through the first round of the Scottish Cup, and they are actually handily placed in the SWPL now that they have 2 games in hand over all of the 4 teams above them. Today's video will also have a wee chat regarding the goals, my own thoughts regarding the performances, and also we look at the stats for the game. To be fair, Celtic started well yesterday. I thought they kept themselves very much in the game, rather frustratingly, as has been a recurring theme both in the Champions League games and in the domestic games. Celtic gave away a few rather cheap, easy goals and also failed to take their chances at the other end when the score was still at 0-0. Amy Gallagher unfortunately missed a fairly easy front post shot, although to be fair, the Dutch goalkeeper made a very good save to keep Celtic out. A few minutes later, up the other end, and Van Duren, the Dutch equivalent of Amy Gallagher, gets a chance and puts it away. We're 1-0 down. We go back up the other end. Caitlin Hayes, one of the best players in the whole squad, has a chance from 6 yards out, and unfortunately she failed to lift it over the goalkeeper, who again made an excellent save. But the point I'm trying to make is that at 0-0 we had a chance to go 1-0 up. We then give away a goal to a very clinical, experienced goal scorer in Van Duren. We then have the chance to equalise and get ourselves back on firmer footing, and unfortunately Caitlin Hayes wasted that chance. And then as the half wore on, FC Twente got more and more on top, and it did become quite apparent that Celtic were under quite a lot of pressure at corners, struggling to defend in swinging corners, and so it proved when Lisa Rogers, deputising for Kelsey Docherty, who was on the bench instead of starting. Lisa Rogers missed her punch, and instead of punching the ball clear, ended up punching the ball into her own net. So that was in the 34th minute. FC Twente very much kept on the front foot, kept Celtic under pressure. Another in-swinging corner, again not very well defended by our central defence or by Rogers in the goal. Ball ended up the back post, and Natalie Ross unfortunately deflected it into her own net. Second half was a bit of a frustrating game. No real great chances for either side. Good defensive work, good work in midfield, but the final ball and the final pass and shot never quite there for either side, and the game petered out to a 3-0 win for FC Twente. They end up third in the group with 6 points, all 6 points against Celtic. They lost heavily against both Chelsea and Real Madrid home and away, and they actually conceded more goals over the whole course of the Champions League season than we did, albeit they scored considerably more goals again, than we did over the campaign. Possession was 64% FC Twente, 36 for Celtic. Shots were 16-5 in favour of FC Twente, although 2 shots on target for Celtic, 2 shots on target for FC Twente. They had 9 off targets. Celtic had no off targets, and the blocked shots were 5-3 in favour of FC Twente. Celtic did actually get into the FC Twente box quite a number of times. There were 20 touches in the box for FC Twente, 14 for Celtic. Corners were 7-4 in favour of FC Twente, and their goalkeeper made 2 saves, and Lisa Rogers for us made 1 save. I think those stats show that FC Twente had the bulk of the possession, the bulk of the attack. However, Celtic did break forward. They did get into attacking situations. They did get into the box. They had good efficiency with their shots. However, those 2 shots that did hit the target were both well saved by the Dutch goalkeeper. And I think it is one of the lessons I think we need to learn over the course of this season is to cut out silly goals at one end and be efficient and ruthless at the other end. And I do think that overall this will have been lessons learned and very good experience for Celtic. I think it will make Celtic a much more stronger team defending in domestic football, and I do hope that having to try and score against better defenders under more pressure will also help players such as Murphy Agnew, Amy Gallagher, Saoirse Noonan, Morgan Cross, etc. Put the goals away in the SWPL and Scottish domestic games, and hopefully we do see Kit the First can get back from injury in 2025 at some point, because I do think she is a very important player if she's fit and in form, with her good finishing skills, but also her pace, which is unrivaled by anybody else in Scottish women's football. Looking at the positives over the campaign, I think it showed that Emma Lawton and Caitlin Hayes very much belong at this good level. I think they're both players with lots and lots of talent, good defenders, good breaking forward, good in the air, good leaders, and I think Celtic do have a gem to cultivate in Emma Lawton, and hopefully we can keep hold of Caitlin Hayes for a few more years, as I think the two of them are a good partnership in the back three, or moving Emma Lawton out into wing back position. I think Kelly Clark had a good season in the Champions League, as did Kelsey Doherty. I think she did very well in many of the games to keep the score down to what it was. She made some very excellent saves over the course of the season. And I think also Shannon McGregor was impressive often in midfield. But I think midfield generally was an area where we lost a lot of battles and games. We didn't have the pace needed out wide to beat players. And as I've mentioned a couple of times in this video, I think our finishing skills weren't quite good enough at the highest level to beat top level, international level goalkeepers, or outwit top level international defenders. I think the step up of 2 or 3 levels of quality of player and quality of team will have served Celtic in great standing for the second part of this season. Celtic have one more game prior to Christmas. That's against Spartans on Sunday, and then there's a couple of weeks of winter shutdown, and then we'll be into the concluding part of the 24-25 SWPL and Scottish domestic season. I mentioned earlier on, we do have 2 games on hand. Those are against Aberdeen and Queen's Park from memory. Those both should be nice, comfortable wins. Hopefully, boost the goal difference by 4 or 5 each time. And if Celtic were to win those 2 games in hand, that would leave us in third place, 1 point behind Rangers and 3 points behind Glasgow City. And it's very similar to the position Celtic were in a few games into Elena Sidiku's head coach career at the start of 2024, where we were trailing Rangers in the league, but came back to overhaul them and win the SWPL. And I think Celtic do have the quality to beat Glasgow City, to beat Rangers, and they do have the quality to avoid any slip-ups against Hearts and Hibs, which has been a factor early in this season. So that finishes things off for today's video. Just a wee suggestion, encouragement as we finish. If you are new to the channel, not yet subscribed, please do click that subscriber button to keep the numbers pushing up and up. If you've liked the video, like the coverage of the Celtic women's side, and want to see the Celtic women's side covered more and more on YouTube, please do click that like button to spread the video more and more, and do pop your comments regarding last night's game and the Celtic women's side into the comment section for pleasant, polite debate, opinions, thoughts, and sharing of thoughts of Celtic women's team fans. And so until the next Celtic Girls video, goodbye and hail, hail.